So welcome back, everyone. When we had last left off, the final general of the Kaurava army had lay dead, right? 99 out of the 100 Kaurava brothers have been killed, all by Bhima, interestingly enough, right? It's one piece of trivia. Bhima kills all of the Kauravas. And Duryodhana, the eldest of the Kauravas, the leader, lies dying at the shores of an icy lake, his thigh shattered by Bhima. There are only 4 fighters left alive on the Kaurava side. There's Duryodhana. There's also Ashvatthama, who's Drona's Brahmin son. There's Krupa. This is a Brahmin preceptor of the Kauravas. He's also the brother-in-law of the Drona. Then finally, there's Kritavarman, who's a Yadava fighter, a fighter who fights in Krishna's armies that, remember, were given by agreement to Duryodhana. And that's it. That's it. Just 4 people. Everyone else on the Kaurava side is either dead or has fled the battlefield. We might think that the war is basically over and the Pandava is kind of due at this point, but actually there's one incredibly terrifying final move that the Kauravas have left to play, and this is an atrocious act of mass destruction, which becomes the focus of Book 10 of the Mahabharata, which is called the Sauptika Parvan, or the Book of the Nighttime Attack. It's one of the shortest books of the epic. It's only 18 chapters long, and it's about one of the key themes that we've been talking about throughout the epic, vengeance, and the cyclical nature of violence that begets more violence, and so on. Let's see how it all unfolds. The book opens with Ashvatthama and the 2 other fighters, Krupa and Kritavarman. They hunker down for the evening under a fig tree. Ashvatthama's mind is seething with feelings of rage and vengeance since the Pandavas had slain both his father and his leader in an unfair manner. He looks up and sees a whole flock of crows who are asleep on that fig tree. Then he sees an owl come and destroy all of the crows in their sleep, just completely vanquishing his enemies, right? And this gives Ashvatthama an idea of what to do. He wakes up Krupa, his maternal uncle, and Kritavarman, and after a bit of debate, he convinces those 2 that they should enter the Pandavas' camp in the middle of the night while they're still asleep and slaughter them all. The trio arrives at the gates of the camp where all the Pandavas' armies are sleeping, and then Ashvatthama prays to Shiva and has Shiva enter his body. He praises Shiva and offers himself as a sacrifice to Shiva, and so Shiva takes possession of Ashvatthama. Ashvatthama then tells the other 2 to wait outside and kill anybody who tries to leave the camp. He then jumps the gate and enters the Pandava camp. He first finds Drishtadyumna, this warrior who had killed his father, and he beats him to death. Then he starts killing all of the other warriors of the camp, including Shikhandi as well as the 5 sons of the 5 Pandavas. There's a general chaos in the camp. All of the animals start breaking loose and trampling people, while Ashvatthama is murdering warriors, and the 2 others are remaining outside, killing anyone who leaves the gates. Eventually, they set fire to the camp and destroy in its entirety all of the remaining soldiers of the Pandava forces in kind of an unprecedented attack of horrific brutality. The 3 of them go back to Duryodhana, who's now nearing death, and tell him what they did. Their massacre was just so nasty, really, that only 7 fighters are left alive on the Pandava side. There's the 5 brothers, and then there's Krishna, and then there's Satyaki, one of Krishna's allies. Duryodhana congratulates Ashvatthama on achieving something that he could not, and then he dies. With all of his sons dead, this is where Sanjaya stops telling Dhritarashtra about the war, and now the rest of the epic returns to being narrated in those outside double frames. The second half of the book turns to the Pandavas' reaction to this terrible massacre. The Pandavas, on the advice of Krishna, they'd actually been living outside of the Pandava camp on their own, along with Krishna and this sidekick of his named Satyaki. Yudhishthira gets told about the slaughter, and he sends news to Draupadi, who starts a fast unto death because her 5 sons have been killed, and she agrees to stop her fast only if Ashvatthama is killed. The Pandavas search for Ashvatthama. They find him at the banks of the Ganga, where he picks up a blade of grass and charges it with a magic weapon called the Brahma Shiras, which has the power to destroy all of creation in one fell swoop. He launches this doomsday weapon at the Pandavas. Arjuna then launches an equally powerful weapon that he has. And now it feels like these two weapons are going to destroy the entire cosmos. Then Narada and Vyasa, these two sages, the author, intervene and persuade the two of them to divert their weapons. Arjuna withdraws his weapon, but Ashvatthama doesn't have the ability to withdraw his weapon, so instead he redirects it into the wombs of all of the Pandava women, cursing them all to be barren so that the Pandava line will come to an end. Abhimanyu's widow, Uttara, the daughter of Virata, is pregnant, it turns out, and her baby gets stillborn. Now, Krishna promises that he'll bring this baby back to life and he'll be the Pandava's only heir. Ashvatthama is condemned to wander the earth in permanent misery and pain for what he's done. But before he sets off to roam in the country in penance, the Pandavas make him surrender a jewel that happens to be embedded in his forehead, and they return to Draupadi and present her with this jewel from Ashvatthama's forehead to show that they've defeated him and avenged the killing of her children. Her brothers have also been killed, and indeed all of the soldiers of her father's armies. In fact, among over the 1.6 billion people to fight in the war, only 10 have remained alive. 3 from the side of the Kauravas, 7 from the side of the Pandavas. Everyone else is dead, right? Over 1 billion people are dead. And the next books now have to deal with the aftermath of all of this and to sort of figure out how to make everything right again.